Forward folding can often be difficult for people, and frequently we chalk it up to tight hamstrings. And while hamstrings certainly do play a part, it could also be low back, hips, or potentially even calves. So throughout the class today, we're going to work some different areas to see if we can find a little more freedom in our fold. And as part of that, we are also going to do some strength exercises because it's not just about flexibility. Flexibility and strength are partners in helping to increase our range of motion. As that range of motion increases, we want to make sure to use strength through the range of motion in order to maintain it. So you may want a couple different things for our class today. First, a strap or a scarf or a belt. And then if you're interested in adding some load to our strength exercises, grab a kettlebell or a dumbbell, maybe a bag of sugar, something like that. But that is not necessary. That's only if you're interested in adding some load. Let's start out lying on our back. Stretch your left leg long. Press the leg strongly into the mat. Bring your right knee toward your chest. Hold on around your shin and gently draw your knee towards you. You can close your eyes if you'd like to, and just begin to notice your breath. Maintain your own unique pattern of breathing throughout class today. Just see if you can maybe deepen your inhale and lengthen your exhale. Release your right leg. Stretch your right leg long. Press it down strongly into the mat and bring your left knee in. Hold on around your left shin and gently draw your knee towards your chest. Continue to press your right leg down as you draw your left knee in. Release your left leg. Bring your right knee in towards your chest and hold on around both shins. Gently draw your knees towards your chest and pay close attention to what's happening in your pelvis. Is your low back starting to round? Are your hips coming up off the mat? If so, bring your hips back down. Notice your sacrum, that part of your spine just above your tailbone, and maybe even smear it into the mat. Make sure that your sacrum is pressing down strongly into the mat as you then see how much you're able to bring your knees towards your chest without letting your sacrum come off the ground. This idea of hips back is going to be very important for our folds and something you're going to hear me say a lot throughout class today. Release your shins and open your arms out to a T. Gently lower your knees over to the left, coming into a reclined twist. You should feel a nice stretch through your low back. Then bring your knees back to center and slowly and gently lower them over to the right. Bring your knees back to center. Straighten your left leg long. Press it down into the mat. And straighten your right leg so your foot points up to the ceiling. Then slowly twist so that your right foot comes down over to your left. Adding a stretch through the IT band now in this twist. Come back to center. Release your right leg down and bring your left leg straight up. Slowly twist over to the right. Back to center. And once again, bring both knees in towards your chest. Hold on around your shins. Press your sacrum down into the mat and bring your knees towards your chest. Open your eyes if they're not already. Release your shins and gently roll up to seated. Cross at the ankles, place your hands down and come into a tabletop position. We're going to do a version of cat-cow where we move only through the pelvis. We really want to notice what our pelvis is doing throughout class today. So draw your low ribs in and down. Draw your shoulder blades slightly towards each other. Make sure your neck is in line with your spine. Look straight down at the mat and keep all of this in line as you inhale and tip your tailbone up to the sky. Only your pelvis is moving. Exhale, tuck your tailbone. Again, only your pelvis is moving. One more time. Inhale, tip your tailbone to the sky. Exhale, tuck your tailbone. Now let's take the movement and bring it all the way through our spine, but still start it at the tailbone. Inhale, tip your tailbone to the sky, and slowly bring the movement through your back, up towards your chest, and ending in your neck, looking forward. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, and then slowly bring that wave up through your back, into your shoulders and your neck, tucking your chin. Return to a neutral spine, and then push back to a modified downward facing dog. Keep your knees nice and bent. Stay high up on your toes. Pull your hips and your tailbone back and up. Bring your belly to your thighs and notice your chest is broad. Then slowly walk your feet between your hands. Soften your knees. Bring your hands to your hips and rise all the way up to standing. Inhale, arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bend your knees and come on down to Uttanasana, forward fold. Keep your knees nice and bent for this very first forward fold. Let's notice how the fold grows and changes throughout class today. Pay attention to your hips drawing back and up, your belly pressing into your thighs, and your shoulder blades drawing just slightly towards each other so your chest stays broad. Beyond finding freedom in the physical pose today, we're also looking to find some freedom from expectations and from comparison. Often we see images of certain poses, forward folds, and we think that's the way we're supposed to look in the pose. But everyone looks different in poses because everyone's anatomy is unique. So if you expect that your legs are supposed to be straight, or if you expect that your hands are supposed to be flat on the ground, let's find some freedom from those expectations, freedom from that comparison, and instead throughout class today, focus not on what the pose looks like, but on what the pose feels like. Those 3 key actions of hips back and up, belly to thighs, chest broad. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back to plank. Lower halfway or all the way to the mat. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Lower your left knee. Let's come into lizard. In a forward fold, we're folding at our hips. So we don't really need length in our hip flexors today. Instead, we need openness through our outer hip. So rather than dropping down in lizard, take your hips, pull them back so that your hips are stacked over your back knee. Then draw your chest forward and through so your chest is broad. Stay on your hands or even your fingertips for this first lizard pose. There is no need to go any deeper. We'll have chances for that later. And just notice what this pose feels like. Heel toe your right foot to the middle of the mat. Turn the toes out to a 45-degree angle. Open the right knee to the side so you come up onto the outside of your right foot. We are now in an awkward sort of pigeon position. Again, stay on your hands or your fingertips. Draw your hips and your tailbone back. Keep your chest broad, heart shining forward. Breathe into your outer right hip. Then continue walking your right foot all the way over to the left side of the mat. Bring your right knee forward and down and find pigeon pose. Again, since we're not working to lengthen the hip flexor for our fold, it's okay if your hips are not completely square in this pigeon. Walk your hands forward and just come down a little ways in your pigeon so that you can feel a stretch in your outer right hip. Walk your hands back under your shoulders. Tuck your left toes and step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Lower your right knee and find your lizard. Walk your hips back so that they're over your back knee. Keep your tailbone pointing back and your chest broad. Stay up on your fingertips or your hands and feel what this pose feels like in your body. Heel toe your left foot to the middle of the mat. Turn your toes out 45 degrees. Open your left knee so you come up onto the outside of your left foot. Continue to draw your hips back and up. Keep your chest broad. Breathe into the outside of your left hip. Then walk your left foot all the way over to the right side of your mat. Bring your left knee forward and down and find your pigeon. Your hips do not need to be perfectly square. Walk your hands forward a little and come down just a little so you can feel a stretch through your outer left hip. Walk your hands back under your shoulders. Come up onto your right toes and step back to downward facing dog. Bend your knees and walk your hands back towards your feet. Slowly roll up to standing. Our first strength move will be sumo squats. To set up for sumo squats, we want our feet slightly wider than hip distance, our toes turned out. Let's do this first set without any load. And before we do them, let me just walk you through. When we squat down, we want to bend deeply through the knees, send the hips back slightly, keep the torso long and straight, chest broad. Bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, sit down slowly into your squat. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes at the top for 1. Inhale, sit down slowly. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes for 2. Inhale, sit down slowly. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes for 3. Inhale. Exhale for 4. Final 1, inhale. Exhale for 5. Bring your feet back under your hips. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, find your way into Uttanasana, forward fold. Feel your way into the fold. Hips back and up, belly to thighs, shoulder blades drawing slightly together so your chest stays broad. Keep your knees as bent as you need to find freedom in those 3 movements. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, walk your hands forward to plank. Exhale, lower halfway or all the way to the mat. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Lower your left knee. Draw your hips back. And this time, if you have the space and you would like to, walk your hands forward and bring your forearms down, maybe onto blocks, maybe all the way to the mat. The key to bringing your forearms down is paying attention to your back. Are you able to continue pulling your hips back and up? Are you able to continue keeping your chest broad? If you notice any rounding in your lower back or upper back, come back up onto your hands and focus on the 3 main components of our fold. Come back up onto your hands if you're not already. Heel toe your right foot to the middle of the mat. Turn your toes out 45 degrees and open your knee to the side. If you would like and you have the space, again, I invite you to walk your hands forward, bring your forearms down, focus on keeping your hips pulling back and up, your chest broad, no cat back. Come back up onto your hands if you're not already, and finish walking your right foot all the way over to the left side of your mat. Bring your right knee forward and down and find your pigeon. Inhale, sit tall, and then exhale, walk your hands forward. You can come a little lower this time than last time if you would like to. Breathe into the outside of your right hip. Walk your hands back under your shoulders. Tuck your left toes under. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot between your hands. Lower your left knee. Shine your heart forward. And exhale, shift your hips back, walk your hands back. Come into Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. Right toes point to the sky, hips directly over your left knee. Stay up on your fingertips for our first half split. Focus on pulling your right hip back and down and your left hip forward. Keep your chest broad and breathe into your right hamstring. Make sure your left fingertips are directly under your left shoulder. Inhale, lift your right arm and open your chest to the right. Exhale, lower your right hand. Walk your hands forward, bring your right foot flat. Press down into your hands and your right foot so you can lift your left knee and bring it forward and slightly out to the side so that you can then come and sit behind your left foot. Stretch your right foot long and you should be set up for Janu Shirshasana. If you're not, just adjust. Turn your chest so it's facing over your right leg. Bend your right knee a little. Focus on pointing your hips and tailbone back and bringing your belly to your thigh. Keep your chest broad, and if you feel like you have space and you want to shimmy your right heel forward, go ahead, just maintain the belly to thigh connection as you do so. Inhale, sit tall. Bend your right knee, place your right foot flat. Shift your weight forward, hands down. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Bring your right knee down. Shift your hips back. Find lizard. You can stay up on your hands, or if you have the space and you can keep your back straight, walk your hands forward. Bring your forearms down onto blocks or onto the mat. Hips pulled back and up, chest stays broad. Come back up onto your hands if you're not already. Heel toe your left foot to the middle of the mat. Turn your toes out 45 degrees. Open your knee to the side. Continue to pull your hips back and up. And if you have space, walk your hands forward. bring your forearms down. Keep your chest broad, no cat back. Come back up onto your hands if you're not already. Finish walking your left foot all the way over to the right edge of your mat. Bring your left knee forward and down, and find your pigeon. Inhale for length. Exhale, walk your hands forward. You can come a little lower than you did last time on this side. Find the stretch in your outer left hip. Walk your hands under your shoulders. Tuck your right toes under. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot between your hands. Lower your right knee down. Shine your heart forward. And then exhale, walk your hands back, shift your hips back, point your toes to the sky, and come into Ardha Hanumanasana. Hips are over your right knee. Stay up on your fingertips. Pull your left hip back and down, your right hip forward. Keep your chest broad. Breathe into your left hamstring. Make sure your right fingertips are directly under your right shoulder. Inhale, lift your left arm to the sky and open your chest to the left. Exhale, bring your left hand down. Walk your hands forward, flatten your left foot. Press into your hands and your left foot. Bring your right knee forward and out to the side. Sit down behind your right foot, straighten your left leg, and come into Janu Shirshasana on the left. Turn your chest over your left leg. Slightly bend your left knee. Draw your tailbone back and your belly to your thigh. Keep your chest broad, and if you feel like you have the space and you want to slide your heel forward, go ahead and do so. Just keep the belly to thigh connection. Inhale, sit tall. Bend your left knee, place your foot flat. Shift your weight forward, hands down. Step back to downward facing dog. Bend your knees, walk your hands back, and slowly roll up to standing. We'll revisit the sumo squats, and if you want to add load this time, go ahead, grab your weight. Depending on what you're using as a weight, you might hold it straight down, or you could bring it up to your chest. Remember, for sumo squats, our feet are a little wider than hip distance. Our toes are pointing out. Inhale, slowly sit down into your squat. Keep your torso long and straight. Exhale, stand tall. Squeeze your glutes at the top for 1. Inhale, slowly sit down. Exhale, stand tall. Squeeze your glutes for 2. Inhale, slowly into your squat. Exhale, stand tall for 3. Inhale, sit down. Exhale for 4. Final 1. Inhale down. And exhale for 5. If you're using one, gently place your weight down. And we will move on to hip hinges. Hip hinges are the basis for moves like deadlifts and good mornings, and are just a fantastic way to strengthen the entire back side of the body. Since these are the first ones we're doing in class today, we'll do them without load. Point your toes forward, but you can keep your feet slightly wider than hip distance if you would like. And then, before we do them, what we'll be doing is hinging from the hips. That's why they're called hip hinges. Your hips are going to go back. Your chest and torso is going to come forward. Torso will stay in a nice straight line. It will be parallel to the ground. Soft bend to the knees. You don't want locked knees, but we're also not going to bend deeply into them or we would be squatting. Everyone, put your fingers into your hip creases. You're going to feel your fingers get squeezed into the creases as we hinge forward. Inhale, shift your hips back. Keep your knees soft, chest broad. Bring your torso parallel to your mat. Fingers should be squeezed in your hip creases. Exhale, stand tall, shift your hips forward, squeeze your glutes at the top. 1. Inhale, slowly hinge forward, hips back, soft knees, broad chest. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes at the top. 2. Inhale, hinge forward, shift your hips back, keep your knees soft, torso parallel to the mat. Stand tall, squeeze your glutes for 3. Inhale, hinge forward. Stand tall for 4. Final 1. Inhale, hinge forward. Stand tall for 5. Bring your feet under your hips if they're not already. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, soft bend to your knees. Find Uttanasana, forward fold. Feel your hips pull back and up. Feel your belly on your thighs. Feel your chest broad. Notice how this pose feels now compared to the first time we did it in class today. Are you able to straighten your legs a little more? If so, great. If not, also great. You are doing a forward fold whether or not your knees are straight. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, walk your hands forward into plank. Lower halfway or all the way to the mat. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Lower your left knee, find your lizard. Hips back and up, hands forward, forearms down if you can keep your back straight. And then final option, power up your left leg. Lower your left knee. Walk your hands back under your shoulders. Heel toe your right foot to the middle of the mat. Turn your toes out 45 degrees. Open your knee to the side. Pull your hips back and up. Walk your hands forward. Bring your forearms down. Keep your chest broad. Walk your hands back under your shoulders. Bring your right foot all the way to the left side of your mat. Bring your right knee forward and down and find pigeon. If you want to, this time, walk your hands forward and come all the way down into sleeping pigeon. Walk your hands back in. Tuck your left toes under. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot between your hands. Lower your left knee. Shine your heart forward, and then walk your hips back to half split. Toes point up, hips over your left knee. If you want to fold in your half split, you may want to slightly bend your right knee. Pull your hips and tailbone back. Bring your belly to your thigh. Keep your chest broad by slightly drawing your shoulder blades together. And fold down. If you have the space to straighten your leg a little, go ahead. Be careful you don't hyperextend your knee. Walk your hands back under your shoulders. Inhale, lift your right arm. Open your chest to the right. Exhale, bring your right hand down. Walk your hands forward. Place your right foot flat. Press into your hands and your right foot. Bring your left knee forward and out to the left. Sit down behind your left foot and set up for Janu Shirshasana. Turn your torso so it is over your right leg. Bend your right knee. Pull your hips back. Bring your belly to your thigh. Keep your chest broad. And come into your fold. Slide your heel forward if you have space, maintaining the belly to thigh connection. Find your fold. What does it feel like in your body? Inhale, come up to a tall seat. Stretch your left leg to come next to your right. Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. If you want to kind of pull some of the flesh out from underneath your seat, inhale for length. Bend your knees. Exhale, fold, bringing your belly to your thighs. If you can keep your belly to your thighs and your chest broad. Slide your heels forward slightly. Take it slowly. This is our first time doing Paschimottanasana in this class. Inhale, sit tall. Bring your hips to the middle of the mat and gently roll down onto your back. Find your strap. Wrap your strap around the ball of your right foot. Stretch your left leg long. Press it into the mat like we did at the very beginning of class. Point your right leg straight up and hold on to both sides of the strap with one in each hand. Gently draw your leg towards you using the strap. If you would like to put a slight bend in your knee, you may do so. Continue to press your left leg down as the right leg draws in towards your chest. Gently release. Bring your right leg back up, straight above you. We're going to do something very similar, except this time as you pull your right leg towards you with the strap, resist it with your leg. So don't let your leg go anywhere. Here we go. Try and bring the leg towards you, but don't let the leg move. You should notice your hamstring fire up to keep your leg in place. Continue these two opposing movements for just a couple more breaths. And then relax and let your right leg be drawn in towards your chest. Bend your right knee, release the strap from your right foot, and set the strap off to the side for later. Set your right foot flat, knee bent. Extend your left leg long at about 45 degrees. We're going to do single leg glute bridges. So unlike our typical yoga bridge, this isn't a back bend, but we're looking for a diagonal line from knee to shoulder. Exhale, press into your right heel, lift your hips. Squeeze your glutes and your hamstring. Lower down, 1. Exhale, lift up, and lower for 2. Exhale, lift, and lower for 3. Exhale, lift, lower for 4. Final one. Exhale, lift, and lower for 5. Bring both knees into your chest and gently rock up to seated. Cross your ankles, place your hands down, and find your way into downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Lower your right knee. Walk your hips back, find your lizard. Hands forward, forearms down. If you're able to maintain a straight back, no rounding through the low back, no cat back through the upper back. Final option, wherever your hands are, power up your right leg. Lower your right knee. Bring your hands back under your shoulders. Heel toe your left foot to the middle of the mat. Turn your foot out 45 degrees and open your knee to the side. Pull your hips back and up. Walk your hands forward and come down as low as you can, keeping your chest broad. Walk your hands back under your shoulders and continue walking your left foot all the way over to the right. Bring your left knee forward and down. Find your pigeon. Inhale for length, and if you would like, exhale, come all the way down into sleeping pigeon. Bring your hands back under your shoulders. Tuck your right toes. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot between your hands. Lower your left knee. Shine your heart forward and then walk back to Ardha Hanumanasana, half split on the left. Left toes point up, hips are over your right knee. If you would like to fold, gently bend your left knee, draw your tailbone back and up, bring your belly to your thigh, keep your chest broad, and find your fold. Walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Inhale, lift your left arm to the sky, open your chest to the left. Exhale, bring your left hand back down. Walk your hands forward, place your left foot flat. Weight into your hands and left foot. Bring your right knee forward and out to the side. Sit down behind your right foot. Set up for Janu Shirshasana. Turn your chest so it's over your left knee. Gently bend your left knee. Bring your belly to your thigh. Keep your chest broad, pulling your shoulder blades just gently together. And slide your heel forward as much as you can, keeping all of those components in place. Find your version of this fold. Inhale, up to seated. Stretch your right leg long next to your left. Let's revisit Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Draw the flesh out from underneath your seat if you'd like. Bend both knees. Inhale for length. Tip your tailbone and your hips back and up. Belly to thighs, chest broad. Slide those heels forward if you have space. And find your version, what your Paschimottanasana feels like. Inhale, sit tall. Bring your hips to the middle of the mat if they're not already. And then gently roll down onto your back. Find your strap. Wrap it around the ball of your left foot. Stretch your right leg long down on the mat. Press it firmly into the mat. Left leg up to the ceiling. Gently pull your left leg towards your chest. Soft bend in your knee. Release and bring your left leg back up to the sky. Once again, try and pull your right leg towards you, but don't let your leg move. Engage your left hamstring to stop your leg from moving. Continue these two opposing movements for a couple more breaths. Then release and gently draw your left leg back towards your chest. Bend your left knee. Remove the strap from your left foot and set it off to the side. Place your left foot flat on the mat, knee bent. Bring your right leg up to 45 degrees. Let's do the single leg glute bridges now on the left. Exhale, press into your left heel. Lift your hips. Squeeze your glutes and your left hamstring. Lower for 1. Exhale, lift. Lower for 2. Exhale, lift. Squeeze your glutes and your hamstring. Lower for 3. Exhale, lift. Lower for 4. Exhale, lift. Last one. Lower for 5. Bring both knees in towards your chest and gently roll up to seated. Cross your ankles, step back to downward facing dog. Bend your knees, walk your hands back, and slowly roll up to standing. If you're using a weight, grab your weight. Sumo squats, feet wider than hip distance, toes turning out. Slowly sit down into your squat. Keep your torso straight. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes, 1. Inhale, slowly squat. Exhale, 2. Inhale, slowly down. Exhale, 3. Inhale, down. Exhale, 4. Final 1. Inhale, down. Exhale, 5. Moving on to our hip hinges. Point your toes forward. If you're using a weight, hold it down rather than up at your chest. If you're using a dumbbell, you'll want to hold on just around one end. With the weight, don't let the weight round your shoulders forward. Use your back muscles to pull your shoulder blades together and down your back as you hinge forward. Remember the soft bend in your knees. Inhale, hinge forward, hips back, knees soft, torso parallel to the mat. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes for 1. Inhale, hinge forward, hips back. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes for 2. Inhale, hinge forward, hips back. Exhale, stand tall, squeeze your glutes for 3. Inhale, hinge forward, hips back. Exhale, stand tall, 4. Last 1. Inhale, hinge forward, hips back. Exhale, stand tall, 5. Place your weight down if you're using one. Bring your feet back underneath your hips. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, softly bend your knees. Find your forward fold. This is our last time in Uttanasana. Make it count. How does it feel now? Is it the same as it was at the beginning of class? Is it different? If it's different, how is it different? The goal, remember, is not the shape. Don't worry about what it looks like. Focus on how it feels. Pay attention to your hips, your belly to thigh connection, your open, broad chest. Find some freedom in your fold, physically as well as freedom from expectations of straight knees and flat hands, or freedom from comparing yourself to others. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, walk your hands forward to downward facing dog. Bend your knees, look forward, and then step or hop to seated, bringing your feet forward and through. Let's revisit Paschimottanasana one more time. Inhale for length. Bend your knees as much as you need, and exhale, forward fold. Seated forward fold. Find length on your inhale. Fold a little deeper on your exhale. Remembering belly to thigh connection, broad open chest. Then inhale, sit tall. Scoot your hips to the middle of the mat if they're not already. And gently lower yourself onto your back. We'll do one round of some glute bridge pulses. So bend your knees, place your feet flat. These are glute bridges like we were doing before, only with both feet down. So not a back bend, but a diagonal line from knee to shoulder. Exhale, press into your heels, lift up into a glute bridge. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze your hamstrings, find the diagonal line. Then lower down a little, lift back up. 1. Lower down a little, squeeze your glutes, lift back up for 2. Lower down a little, squeeze your glutes, lift back up for 3. Lower down a little, squeeze your glutes, lift back up for 4. Last one, lower down a little, squeeze your glutes, lift back up for 5. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and gently lower all the way down. Bring your knees into your chest, cross your right leg over your left. Open your feet to the side and see if you can hold on. Maybe it's your shins, maybe it's your ankles, maybe you can hold on to the outside of your feet. Keep your legs at a 90 degree. In other words, don't let your heels come down towards your butt, but keep them out so that your shins and your quads form a 90 degree angle. And then gently, as you draw your tailbone down towards the ground, also see how much you can bring your feet towards the ground. Very gentle. Supta Gomukhasana. Then release. Switch the crossing of your legs so that we can now stretch the outside of the left hip. Open your feet to the sides. Hold on wherever you can. It may be different on this side. Keep the legs so they form 90 degree angles. Draw your hips, your tailbone back so they're coming down onto the mat. And then gently draw your feet towards the mat. Don't yank, don't pull, just gentle. Breathe into the stretch on the outside of your left hip. Then carefully release. Bring your knees down towards the outside of your torso. Hold on to your shins, your ankles, the outside of your feet. Find happy baby. Paying attention again to the location of our hips, our tailbone, our pelvis. Don't let the low back round. Don't let the tailbone tuck under. In this case, it would actually be rolling up. Instead, find your sacrum, smear it into the mat again. Make sure you have that connection down in the mat, and then gently against that, see if you can also bring your knees a little lower. Happy baby. If there's any other pose you would like to do, anything your body needs today, before we move into Shavasana, go ahead, take the next couple breaths to do that now. Gently release your happy baby. Stretch one leg at a time, long down to the corners of your mat. Place your hands by your hips, palms facing up. Find a comfortable place for your shoulders, and if you haven't already, close your eyes. Release the pursing of your lips and the clenching of your jaw. Release the tension in your shoulders and the gripping of your fingers. Let your feet open to the sides. Let your thoughts, your worries, your anxieties melt away as you melt into the mat. I invite you to stay here for as long as you want, for as long as you need. If you're ready to move on with me, stretch your legs long, stretch your arms long. Inhale, and then roll over onto one side. Carefully find your way into a comfortable seated position. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Thank you for practicing with me.